Hey everybody, welcome to Inspire Your Success podcast. My name is Michael Leonard, former corporate zombie turned lifestyle entrepreneur. I'm on a mission to inspire millions of people to stop settling for average and create the life that you deserve. Each week, I'll be bringing on world-class experts, entrepreneurs, and high achievers to give you the inspiration to take massive action. I'm confident these successful people will give you the spark to create an epic life and business. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Here's your episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to Inspire Your Success. Now that it's January in 2019, I know that you are looking into the year, probably doing a little bit of reflection into last year, and really figuring out what you want to create, what you want to do, and who you want to be in 2019. And I want to share some of my biggest lessons from 2018 to really help you create the year that will change everything. Because 2018, I can say personally, was the year that I'll always remember. There was a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but overall, I learned more about myself and how to run a business and really just living a better life than I probably had in the previous 30 years. Now, I'm not going to say it was an easy year. I had a lot of personal struggles. I had some business struggles. I had to really become a different person, to become an entrepreneur, to try and become the professional golfer that I want to be, and really to become the person I want to be. I had to really get out of my comfort zone a lot. I had to face a lot of fears, and along the way, I just learned so many lessons that I want to help you, because some of these I probably didn't need to learn in the way I did. So I'm hoping that you can learn from me and avoid some of that pain, some lost money, some frustration. And again, my whole goal with this podcast is to help you speed up success. So I want to go over my 10 lessons of 2018 so you can create an epic 2019. So lesson number 1 is quit caring what anyone else thinks. I was so guilty of this for so long. It is hard to even remember a time when I didn't care what other people thought. And if you're trying to be a lifestyle entrepreneur and be on social media and quit your 6-figure job to create online income and do all these things I was trying to do, I quickly found that there's no way to please everyone, especially family, friends, people on the internet. There's just too much going on out there. And if your entire happiness and your well-being depends on what other people think about you, I promise that you are going to be miserable more than you are happy. And that's something that really took me a long time. I'm 31 years old, and I can say it pretty much took until last year until I finally just realized, fuck it. Like, I can't care what other people think. And when I listen to Jesse Itzler, is someone that I really respect. He's an author. He's a co-owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He's just an unbelievable guy. And I remember reading his book, and maybe it was even hearing him speak at an event, and he said, do whatever you want to do every single day, because in 100 years from now, everyone's going to be dead. So it really doesn't matter what other people think. If you want to sing in your car with the windows down, if you want to skip in your way to the store, if you want to create YouTube videos, if you want to quit your job, if you want to do anything, if it makes you happy, then do it. Because we live in this social media era, which is great, but also is very difficult at times, and I'll get into that later. But we live in a time where all we care about is what other people think, and it's holding you back. It held me back for too long. It held me back from doing this podcast. It held me back from creating more content. It held me back from doing the things I wanted to do. And at the end of the day, don't try and impress anyone else but yourself. I think that is the biggest thing for me, is just learning that life's simple. I mean, if you can make yourself happy, you're going to have a great life. You're going to show up better with friends, family, relationships, and everything else. So I really, really just want you to live 2019 for yourself. Don't care what anyone else thinks. And I know that sometimes you are going to get some grief from people, and I know personally a lot of people like to give their opinions when I tell them I want to be a professional golfer, I want to build a 6-figure a month business, all these other things. And a lot of times it's people not necessarily trying to hurt you. Sometimes it is, but sometimes they're just looking out for you, they think. And I want to go with a quote that I learned from Tom Bilyeu at Impact Theory. And it's really resonated with me. So the next time someone tries to take you off your goals and really take you back to what they think is reality and push their limiting beliefs on you, I want you to remember this. Thank you for your concern, but you're not the person I'm trying to emulate. So don't let anyone hold you back. Again, live 2019 for you, for no one else. So that was a long-winded one, but I'm very passionate about that. So number 2 is to really, I want you to focus on your future. Don't worry about the past so much. It is so easy to look back and always focus on what you could have done. And I don't know why, for some reason this year, I kind of had, maybe it was my 30th birthday last year or just getting older and wiser, but I had this kind of epiphany of like, man, I really wasted, quote unquote, a lot of my 20s. And I don't really say that, I wasn't like a drug addict in a crack den or something like that, but I really felt that my 20s were a time where I should have been learning, networking, doing all these things that I know now, but I really wasn't. And it's just one of those things where it's easy to feel guilty about your past. But the more I research the brain and understanding psychology, guilt is a very, very powerful negative emotion. And I experienced a lot of guilt onto what I wish I would have done or how I wish I would have done this in the past. And the point is that it's in the past. Like, you're never going to change it. But you have to remember, like Tony Robbins always says, you're not your past. You're bigger than your past. And so don't limit yourself to what you were in the past. If you want to change today. If you want to change tomorrow, do it. You don't need anyone else's permission. Again, going off of number 1, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you focus on your future and make sure your future is always bigger than your past. Again, guilt is such a toxic emotion that can just bring in sickness and make you feel awful and demotivated and all these other things. So I want you in 2019 to say, hey, everything that I've done in my life has got me to this point, but I'm just getting started. I can start that business. I can lose the weight. I can find the relationship. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. So quit looking backwards. There is no way you're going to find the answer back there trying to change the past. And I remember when I was at Thrive, which is a great seminar I could not recommend more in Las Vegas, coming up here in May. And I remember hearing Ed Milet, one of my favorite entrepreneurs, talk, and he said, there's a reason that your rear view mirror is very small and your windshield is huge. It's just exactly how your past and your future is. Your past is that rear view. Look in it a little bit, learn from it, but focus on the future. Your future is bright. You can't even imagine how much your life can change in 6 months or a year if you put your head down and really put in the work on yourself or in your business or whatever you're trying to do. So focus on the future. The third lesson is to check the stories that you're telling yourself, because the human mind is insane. I love it, but we are so programmed for so many things that the more I study it, the more I'm baffled by how many people just tell themselves the same stories over and over again every single day, thus creating the same day, the same week, the same month, the same year. And that's probably why a lot of you might feel stuck from the last year to the previous year to the previous year. I feel like for me, from 26 to 28, 29, I was pretty much living the same year every year. I got a little bit of a raise, but I might spend a little bit more money, maybe go on a different vacation. But for the most part, my stories, my thoughts, my beliefs were all the same. And so I really recommend you to check your stories. If you're telling yourself, I'm not a runner, you're never going to be a runner. If you tell yourself that you're never going to start a business, you're never going to start a business. So you have to be super careful about what you're telling yourself. And a lot of times you don't even realize that you're telling yourself these stories, because the mind, I guess, I think it's anywhere from 30 to 50,000 thoughts a day that you experience. Now, 70% of all thoughts are negative, and that is because of the ancient part of the brain, the reptilian part of the brain. It's just trying to protect you. It's not anything necessarily that you're doing, but most thoughts are negative until you reprogram yourself to be positive. So you have to realize that when all these negative thoughts come through, just realize that everyone has those at times. You have to just fight past them, and you have to learn to just let the thoughts go by. You don't have to attach to that individual thought. So some of the stories that I had were, I can't start a podcast. I can't create an online course yet. I can't. Well, that was all bullshit. It was all made up stories in my mind that held me back from being the person that I want to be. And ultimately, the person I want to be is someone that shares value on a podcast, on YouTube, with blog posts, Medium articles, and everywhere else, because I want to help people succeed in life and business. But I had my mind holding me back because I was worried about what other people would think. I was trying to think my past, I wasn't very good at this YouTube thing, or I don't know anything about podcasting. So I had all these stories that got in the way. And finally, I realized you have to be very careful about the stories that you tell yourself, because 90% of every thought you have every single day is the exact same as it was the day before. So you need to really check yourself. Don't limit yourself anymore. Make 2019 the year where you create and write your own story. You are the hero of your story. And think about it like this. In any movie that you really like, it's always that comeback scene where people realize they hit rock bottom, or they find out they can't be like this, they can't be at this weight, they can't be at this business, or whatever it is, and they take it upon themselves to make the change. And you can do that too. So please do not limit yourself with your negative old stories from the past. Number 4, be yourself. Now, I know this is kind of like the other ones, but here's what I mean. I get really into following people online like Ed Milet, Tom Bilyeu, Lewis Howes, all these great entrepreneurs that are basically idols, mentors, and eventually what I want to be peers. But I found myself getting to the point where I was trying to be exactly like them. Now remember, you are you. You are no one else. So remember that you're enough. You don't need to try and be like that social media star, that fitness girl you like, or that entrepreneur, that bodybuilder, whatever it is. Remember that you just need to focus on being yourself. Idols are great. If you want to focus on having idols, I completely agree. But take away things like their work ethic or their ability to show up or just their commitment or dedication. Take those traits. But remember to always be yourself. Don't try and be anyone else. The most successful people in the world, like Mark Zuckerberg or Warren Buffett or anyone like that, they're not trying to be anyone else. So why should you? Just remember that, again, you are enough, and be yourself, have some fun, let loose, and don't try and copycat anybody in 2019. Number 5 is a lesson that I did learn from one of my mentors and idols, I guess, Ed Milet. And he talks about this a lot, and he says that you need to live a life of blissful dissatisfaction. And I couldn't agree more. So one of the biggest things for me in 2018 is that I was kind of letting myself off. I was thinking I wasn't making enough money on the business side. I wasn't quite where I wanted to be with my golf game. I definitely wasn't where I wanted to be with my fitness. But I kept kind of just trying to love myself and just be like, you can do it. You're okay. You're not that overweight. You're not that bad. You're going to get it. And while you should definitely engage in a lot of positive self-talk, about 20% of the time, you should use that and be pissed off with where you are. If you're not making the money that you want to make, be pissed off about it. Use that 20% of rage, of anger, of frustration, of whatever you're experiencing, and use that to change. Because if not, it's easy to just keep going down that path. So I want you to be blissfully dissatisfied in 2019. Be happy with where you are, but know that if you're in the same spot tomorrow, you're not growing, you're not evolving. And the human mind is always wanting to grow. As Tony Robbins always says, progress equals happiness. So you need to focus on growth. use the dark side. I love David Goggins. He talks about this a lot. He says going into the cookie jar. And I really recommend that you read or watch more of David Goggins. It is an incredible watch and a lot of great lessons in his new book. But what I want you to do is use that dark side. Don't feel like you just have to be happy all the time. If you're going to be pissed off, use that rage to change. Don't stay the same that you were and expect different results. So get blissfully dissatisfied. Number 6, morning and evening routines are the only way to be successful. So in the podcast, I've interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs and authors and experts, and I've went to probably 10 different events in 2018. I went to masterminds and seminars and read over 50 books, and one of the most common things I always saw in there was the ability for people to have great morning and evening routines. So I can't stress this enough. If you wake up and hit the alarm and hit snooze and then roll out of bed, grab some coffee, rush to work, you are starting the day behind. The average CEO wakes up 3 hours before they even get to the office. Now, I'm not saying you need to do that, but if you are trying to reach a big goal, you probably do need to do that. So I always recommend, and I'll talk about this way more in a separate podcast because morning and evening routines changed my life, but I always recommend starting with an evening routine to set your morning up. Now, evening routines, again, don't have to be anything crazy. It can be 5 minutes, writing in a journal, scheduling what you're doing tomorrow, and being grateful for a few things before you go to bed. I mean, it's as simple as that. Morning routines, I usually spend anywhere from 10 to 60 minutes in the morning, depending on what my schedule looks like or how I'm feeling or what I want to do. And again, morning routines I'll talk about more in depth, but some of the things I use are simply getting up and drinking at least 16 ounces of water. It's looking at my goals, looking at my vision board. It's thinking about what kind of future I'm trying to create, and either I do some sort of meditation or a gratitude journal or writing in a journal my goals or things like that, just to set myself up, because we get in the habit of go all day, but we forget that if we're not right, we're not going to show up right at work, with our friends, with our family. And so you need to spend some time, and the morning should be about you. It shouldn't be about anyone else. If you have kids, find a way to get up earlier or schedule it ahead of time. It really comes down to scheduling you and scheduling time for you, so that way you can be the best version of yourself. And I know people think, I need this sleep, I need that. Like, find ways to just sleep a little less or go to bed earlier. I'm not saying you need to wake up at 4 a.m., but I am saying that almost every person that I've found that's a very successful, either financially, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, is always having some sort of work on themselves with a positive, empowering morning routine. Another thing here is lesson number 7. It's about goals. Now, I'm not going to talk about how to set goals or how you should do it here in 2019. I have a separate video for that. But I want to talk about celebrating goals in 2019. And it's something that I sucked at in 2018. I accomplished more than I had ever done in a year as an entrepreneur, as a golfer, as a person. But man, was I bad about it. I just was like, I'm not where I want to be, so I'm not even going to celebrate. But that is toxic. And I know a lot of people do that. So I want you to celebrate everything you do. Life should be a celebration of you. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be a vain person or be an asshole online or whatever people think about it from there, but I want you to celebrate for yourself, and you need to do that really because of what it does to your brain. Because when you celebrate many wins, even if it's something as small as reaching out to a new prospect at work or talking to a new person that you want to go out with or losing a pound in a week, whatever it is, celebrate the little goals, even if they're not the big goals, because your brain gets a massive hit of dopamine. And dopamine is the feel-good chemical that we're all searching for. Life is just a big chase of dopamine. So you need to celebrate it so you get that dopamine in and it registers with your mind. Hey, I did something good. This is cool. This feels good. You know what? I need to do more of this so I can get more of this going. And that's why it's so easy when you start getting some wins and you start piling up, you get momentum, you get confidence, you get belief, and that's where the really big wins come from. So again, 2019, celebrate you. I don't care how small it is. Every night before I go to bed, I write 3 wins down I had for the day, and it forces me to do that. So I recommend you add that as part of your evening routine. You can write it in a journal, a Post-it, on your fridge, if you have a whiteboard or something, whatever it is. But write down 3 wins, because I promise it'll force you to be like, okay, you're right, I did do good. I ate what I said I was going to eat. I went to the gym. I prospected. I took a new course. I read a book. Whatever it is, celebrate your wins. Lesson number 8, accountability is key. Now, in 2018, I spent quite a bit of money on different coaches. I hired a podcast coach. I had writing coaches. I had a golf coach. I had a lot of different coaches because I needed some paid accountability in my life. And accountability is a whole nother topic we'll talk about, especially with goals. But accountability just makes sure you show up, because it's easy sometimes if you're having goals and you're not telling anyone or you're not hiring anyone to hold you accountable, to just kind of let them fall by the wayside. So if you don't want to pay for anything, okay, I understand that, but I do recommend that you at least find someone that is trying to do what you're trying to do, whether that's losing weight or starting a business or whatever it is, and find some accountability and hold each other to it. And I would recommend even a small monetary incentive like buying lunch or having to donate to a charity or buying each other something on Amazon, like something, whatever it is, but hold yourself accountable, and I promise you're going to accomplish more. When I hired Omar, the rock star from The Passionate Few, he's my podcast coach. He really held me accountable to releasing YouTube videos, to filming podcast episodes, to reaching out, to getting out of my comfort zone and things like that. So look into paid accountability, whether it's hiring a coach or taking a course where there's homework, or again, just finding someone that you're trying to achieve something with who's on the same path as you. Now, lesson number 9 is all about self-confidence. And I'm going to be really honest with you guys. This is something that I've struggled with in almost every area of my life. And I'm starting to understand why, looking back into some of the childhood unconscious habits that happened to me at a younger age. And some of the things that I really want you to realize is that confidence is not something you're born with. It's really something that you acquire through your own work and discipline and commitment to yourself. Now, I learned this again from Ed Milet and a few other entrepreneurs, but they talk about self-confidence is nothing more than self-trust. It's keeping the promises that you make to yourself and doing it day in and day out. So if you want to get confident in anything, confidence is just a muscle. You have to learn how to use it, and you have to flex it by actually doing the things you say you're going to do. So as part of my evening routine, I schedule my next day. I think I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to film these podcasts. I'm going to write these posts. I'm going to do this for clients, whatever it is. If I don't do it all, I found that I kind of just got in the habit of, well, I'm not really a finisher. And I started to realize that I was scheduling too much. And I know a lot of you do that. If you're an achiever, you think, man, I can do so much in a day. It's something that I was guilty of as well. But if you have 17 things on your to-do list and you do 14 of them, that's probably pretty good. But your brain still sees those 3 things you didn't do, which says, okay, well, he doesn't really always say he's going to do all the things he's going to do, or she doesn't always follow through on her goals for the day. So that is a slippery slope to get into. So I recommend scheduling less and completing 100% of everything that you do. Now, of course, you're going to have days where something happens, life happens, something at work, family, whatever. If that does happen, forgive yourself always and keep moving forward. Self-confidence, again, is nothing more than self-trust. So when you say you're going to do something, do it in 2019. All right, guys. Well, thanks for sticking with me here. The last lesson is social media is a bunch of BS. Now, look, I love and hate social media. And here's what I learned in 2018 is that if you use it too much, it can rob you of your joy, your happiness, your satisfaction with yourself. and so many other things. Again, social media, guys, is a highlight reel. Do not think anyone's life looks like it does on social media. I've hung out with so many people this year that have tens of hundreds of thousands of followers, and they all say the same thing. This isn't really what my life looks like. Like, no one sees the grimy stuff of waking up at 4 a.m. or of having to make these calls or having to edit these videos or whatever they're trying to do. So don't think that everything on there is perfect, because it's not. It's a bunch of filters. It's the best moments with the wittiest captions. And don't get me wrong, it's all about social media. You want to be social, you want to share, you want to create great images and things like that. But just don't latch onto it and think, oh my God, my life isn't anything like that. I'm not successful. I don't have this jet or work on a beach or whatever the hell you see that makes you jealous, because I got into that and I realized it was robbing me of my happiness, of my satisfaction with myself, and it really wasn't doing me any good. So I recommend, if you can, to just batch your social media. Don't make it an everyday, all-day occurrence of endless scrolling. See if you can just look at it 2 or 3 times a day for 5 minutes. I promise it's going to help your happiness. There's been several studies that have came out in the last few years about how much depression and anxiety has increased in young people since 2010. Now you might think, what happened in 2010? Well, that's really when Instagram and Facebook and all these social media platforms took off, and that's when the comparison syndrome happened. So please don't compare yourself to entrepreneurs or, God forbid, Kim Kardashian or whoever you follow. Please don't compare yourself. Their life has struggles. They have ups. They have a lot of downs too. And the really cool people will share those. I think the more vulnerable people you can follow, I think those are the best people. But again, just remember that social media is not always what it seems. Now, those are my 10 lessons from 2018. And really writing these down and thinking about them, it's something that I was able to do pretty easily because I actually kept a doc of it on my phone. So I recommend you do the same. It really has helped me look back, and in December, I spent about 2 weeks really analyzing my year in every way: my business, my personal life, my relationships, my golf, my everything, literally everything. And having this just endless scroll of notes that I felt like really helped me. So I recommend you write down your big lessons, whether it's in a journal or it's on your phone or whatever it is. So that way you can always remember, like, hey, I'm learning a lot. I'm reading, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm watching videos, whatever you're doing. Remember, there's a lot of great lessons in life out there. So I recommend that you just have something so that way you can always look back and realize how far you've come. Now, I want you to make 2019 your year. Go ahead and re-listen to this, take a few notes, and remember that you got to quit caring what other people think. You got to check your stories about what you've been telling yourself. Focus on your future. Be yourself. Use the dark side every once in a while to make some massive change. Have morning and evening routines. Celebrate your goals. Have some paid accountability. Keep the promises that you make to yourself, and remember, social media is not what it seems. So thank you so much again for sticking with me. I am so excited to do this podcast for you guys, and if there's any way I can help you in business or in life with routines or habits, starting a blog, freelance writing, whatever you're trying to do, and you think I can help, please reach out to me. I am on a mission to help inspire as many people as I can to create an epic life and business. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Thanks for listening to Inspire Your Success podcast with Michael Leonard. If you like this show and want to learn more, check out inspireyoursuccess.com/podcast. Also, please leave us a review on iTunes to let us know how we're doing. Join us next week for more tips and tools to help you create the life you deserve.